The PNP has promised to move the income tax threshold to $3.5 million starting April 2026 without any new taxes. How much will it cost? Is the timeline realistic? And which programs will be adjusted to accommodate the increase?
Question, Andrew. We are committed to implementing the 3.5 threshold starting April 2026. This will be funded from revenue growth, which currently salaries and wages, you have the capital budget, and then you have the programmatic budget. As a political
social media, Amoy.
All right, so we're on TikTok. I'm seeing a question here from Joe. Policies often target low-income earners, while high-income earners are generally believed to be able to manage on their own. What in your plans directly supports middle-income Jamaicans who are caught in the squeeze?
Team PNP.
So, the contrast between the JLP's approach of reducing the income tax rate for everyone versus the PNP's approach of lifting the threshold is a prime example of that. The cabinet ministers and the prime ministers will benefit the most from the reduction in the rate of income tax. Police officers, nurses, doctors, security guards, public servants, those who are at the rank and file of the police level, everyone who earns under 3.5 million will be the major beneficiaries of our program. That is what differentiates our approach from theirs. They talk about prosperity. It's prosperity for them and their friends.
That is true. So JLP run country, although PNP don't run the
center of our policies and programs. It's because we want to lift everyone. We want to lift those at the bottom. We want to build up the middle class. We want education to become a bridge from one generation to another to move them to another level in society.
and we will continue to lift the standards of the majority of the Jamaican people. The income tax threshold, we're going to remove tax on overtime so that our security guards, our nurses will get a break and you put more money in their pockets.
Thank you, Mr. Robinson. Team JLP.
The PNP does not understand how the economy works. First of all, they talk about our performance. Our performance we're very proud of. We created the lowest poverty rate in the country on record. We created more jobs with more participation in the economy on record. And while we're doing that, we are building out new industries in digital technology, in our port facilities, for logistics hub, as well as maintaining and building on the traditional industries that are there. Most persons in Jamaica today, young persons who have a skill, can find a job. That was not the case under the People's National Party. And I want to just come back to this issue of corruption, because they seem to think that they can speak about things in mid-air without any evidence, innuendos and suppositions, as if people are going to accept that. What the Jamaican people want is who's going to look after them, who will bring down crime. Peter Bunting depended on divine intervention without work. In fact, he is on record, I believe, as the only Minister of National Security who was unable to secure himself. And I'm happy he's okay from that unfortunate incident in Portland. But it speaks to confidence in their policy to reduce crime. This government has reduced crime by the lowest over 30 years. And this is what Jamaicans want. They felt unsafe under the PNP. They feel a lot safer under the Jamaica Labour Party.
Mr. Tufton, thank you. Time. We now take a short break and invite you to stay tuned.
The general elections debates are presented by the
But I think Georgia, Georgia down, PNP is for the people. Love MB said crime down. Christina said that's right, Tufton. What are you agreeing with Tufton about, Christina? PNP beat them bad. This one seems a little bit close. I don't know. There's a dichotomy between the PNP's ideology and the JLP's ideology. I need to do a little bit more research, or maybe I need to crunch the numbers a little bit. But when we look at, alright, for instance, when we look at the income tax proposal, right, the PNP is saying that they're going to raise the income tax threshold to $3.5 million. That means anybody who work 3.5 million and under will not pay any PAYE. And the JLP is saying we're going to reduce the income tax rate by 15%, not by 50 to 15%. They're going to reduce the income tax from 25% to 15% and increase the income tax threshold to $2 million. But if you look at the JLP's proposal versus the PNP's proposal, the PNP proposal would benefit more people in terms of persons in the lower and the middle class, because remember, a lot of us are how many of us are making $3.5 million? So when you reduce the income tax rate, it simply means that it benefits every single body, and the people who's going to benefit more from it would be the rich folks. Because remember, if you make $21 million a year, you are paying 25% PAYE per your $25 million, right? Now, if you reduce that 25% to 15%, it simply means that you as a person who make $21 million a year is going to be paying less in income tax. So that simply means that, yeah, I think that, yes, there is no, remember, you would pay 25% up to $6 million, Rabina. You pay 25% up to $6 million, and I think 30% $6 million and over, right? I don't know if the 15%, I don't know if the 15% is one singular rate where they're saying you're just going to pay 15% period, or you're still going to have that tier where between the 2 million and the 6 million you pay 15%, because then it would make much of a difference anyway, right? But you know that, like, the rich people for the money tall up. So if you reduce the income tax rate to 15%, it's going to benefit the rich people, because remember, if you would work and you make $2.5 million, $2 million tax free anyway, and you're going to pay 15% on the $5 million, so it's not going to really impact, it's not going to benefit you, because a $500,000 you pay tax pan. Whereas somebody who is making, say, $5 million is going to be paying tax on $3 million of those $5 million. And if you reduce the income tax rate, it will go benefit them. So it will really benefit the poor as much as it is benefiting the upper class. So that is the dichotomy between the JLP's philosophy. I think that the JLP is for the rich. I think that the JLP is for the rich based on how they structure their policies, while the PNP is for the poor, but not in a good way. I think the PNP is more of a I'll buy you a food and a drink, as opposed to give you employment so you can work your own money and buy your own food and buy your own drink. You understand? It's kind of like, I'll give you the fish, but I won't, instead of teaching you how to fish. I think that is the PNP's approach. So even though they are for the people, they are not for the people in a way that uplifts the people. And the debates are back.
Bank has cut its policy interest rate from 7% in July 2024 to 5.75% in August 2025. The regulator has been pleading with the banks, the commercial banks, to further reduce lending rates, but it's not happening fast enough. What will your administration do to further pressure banks to cut their lending rates?
So we are seeing interest rates come down, and we're getting early signs that the rates to borrowers is also coming down. Just recently, I was speaking to the DBJ, You know that the DBJ on lends to the banks to lend to our MSMEs, and DBJ reported that they are seeing low rates in the marketplace from banks. As the Bank of Jamaica bring rates down, we fully expect that borrowers are going to begin to see lower rates in the marketplace on the various loans.
I think that the reforms that are taking place within the banking sector, the independent central bank, which has to drive this issue, that's why we supported the independence of the central bank, and competition. What we have been working on, but I do agree we need to work on it more, and this is for the next administration, is to make it easier for someone to move their account from one bank to the next. We believe ultimately in the market, within reason of course, with a regulatory framework. Not like them who allowed an attempt at liberalization that drove us in visa.
Thank you, Team PNP, your rebuttal.
Before the break, Chris had the gall of claiming success with crime. The fact is that more Jamaicans have been murdered under this JLP administration. Almost 13,000 murdered in their 2 terms than in any other 2 terms in the history of Jamaica. That is failure, not success. We commend the police for the job they've been doing this year in reducing it, but you can't take credit for that. That's despite your failed SOE policies.
What we will do to ensure that the banking sector is more competitive, we are going to ensure government deposits. There's a system to ensure that all banks participate in government deposits.
Thank you. Al, I invite you to pose a question to Team PNP.
The former CEO of Grace Kennedy, the late Don Webby, consistently called on Jamaica to reduce its food importation bill by half by 2030. Given that Jamaica spends around $1 billion a year on imported food, and according to the FAO, Jamaica's food imports account for approximately 21% of its total merchandise imports, what will your government be doing to reduce the food importation in a meaningful way?
Under the JLP administration, the imported food cost has doubled. It was $800 million US 10 years ago. It is now $1.6 billion. That 800 million US dollars, or about 150 billion Jamaican dollars, should be going into the pockets of the farmers of South Manchester, South St. Elizabeth, and farmers all over Jamaica. We have committed to forming an agricultural development fund. This is going to ensure that we inject new technology, new machinery into our farming communities. It's going to ensure that we put adequate post-harvest storage and processing facilities in place to reduce the 30% or more that's lost. We are going to ensure that funding is available for our farmers.
And we commit to the Jamaican people and to the farmers of Jamaica to reduce importation by 25% in our first term. We also commit to helping farmers access financing at more affordable rates and terms. We also commit to helping them with products such as insurance to ensure that when natural disasters hit, the impact to them for recovery is not as high.
Team JLP,
First of all, there is a need to do more to develop our local industry for self-sufficiency but also for export. The fact is this government has done a lot. In fact, if you look at the last 8 years on domestic export has gone up by some 31%. What it means is that more local companies within a much friendlier environment are in fact producing and exporting. But it is a fact that we are importing more at the same time. That is simple. We have an economy that affords the capacity to demand more. We have a thriving tourism industry and we have a consumer who is earning more. This will contribute to a greater demand. It's a process, but it's also a sign of success by this government.
Thank you. Andrea, I invite you to pose a question to Team JLP.
Major platforms such as Meta, Google and TikTok are earning money and data from the Jamaican economy, but they are not paying taxes in Jamaica. What policy changes will your administration pursue to ensure that Jamaica directly collects taxes from these platforms?
So we recognize that those companies that you mentioned are not paying tax to the Jamaican government. We have our tax entities in conversation with these entities to ensure that the Jamaican people get their fair share of taxes from these companies. We sit on some of the international bodies that look at taxes across different countries to ensure that there's fairness in what's being done. And I know that we will pursue it vigorously to ensure that Jamaica is not left out as these companies thrive on our data.
Awesome. To also note is that a lot of our young people are using these platforms. I know recently I saw someone on TikTok selling some nice products that I thought about buying. So our young people are using these platforms very well, and they're creating content that is absolutely amazing. And so we have the tax side that the minister has said that we're looking at in a more multilateral kind of approach, as we tend to do as Jamaicans. But also, there are also other concerns too in relation to artificial intelligence. They're using a lot of our creative energy. They're using our music. They're using our cultural ideas. And those are going into AI programs, and that's something we have to look at.
Rebuttal, Team PNP.
It's clear that there's no policy to deal with this. This is where we have to work with our CARICOM states to develop a common policy. Why? Because these are large multinationals. Their GDP would dwarf the entire Caribbean region. And so it requires some consensus among the region to ensure that you implement a policy which every country agrees to and that you can stand the test of time. We recognize the importance of our creatives. That's why we are establishing a $1 billion fund. Not like the film fund that has disbursed zero, but a $1 billion fund for creatives, for artists or singers or potters, the people who create content so they can build their businesses.
Time, thank you. Social media, Moy.
On social media platform X, Sean from Kingston says, free healthcare means little if hospitals don't have CT machines, x-rays, or even basic supplies. What short-term financial measures will you take within the first 2 years, if you win, to fix these shortages and ensure patients can actually access proper care?
Team PNP, you go first.
You know, I really wanted the Minister of Health to focus on these issues, but him seem more preoccupied with dealing with FinSAC and other people's business. Because if he spent more time dealing with Cornwall Regional, we wouldn't have a $25 billion overall. If he spent more time dealing with the hospital sector, when people go there, they wouldn't have to sit on a wooden chair for 3 days. And when they have to do an MRI or CT scan, they have to pay $50,000 for go. And the same ambulance for take them have to pay for it too. And they can't get toilet paper in the hospital. Our health sector is failing despite the amount of money we have spent. It is the inefficiency of the Jamaica Labour Party why we are here. We are going to ensure the dignity of Jamaicans who have to traverse our public health system. They have been failed by this administration. And that is why we are committed to ensuring that monies which come into the coffers go for the benefit. So when we look on the drill and we drill down, it shouldn't cost $31 million for a $3 million drill. Because what does that do? When you go to the hospital, you have to pay now. Based on that wastage, that corruption, and that inefficiency. What can go so, Jamaica? How can you feel comfortable?
There are currently no CT scan or MRI services available at Mandeville Regional Hospital because the private providers have not been paid.
Time, Team JLP.
Well, let me just start by saying I wasn't the one in 2015 who said we had to use garbage bags as aprons or cut a soap in two. That is their spokesperson of health who spoke about the crisis in the system. So we have come a long way, and we started from a very low base. It is incorrect to say we don't have CT scan, just to say to your social media person. We have CT scans, we have MRIs. In fact, we have more digital machines in our health system than any time before. We need more, but we have done better than the PNP up to 2015 when they were there. Oh, I have more time. Let me also say, because I have a lot to say, that we have embarked on the largest expansion of hospital build-out than any other government since independence, the largest upgrading of health centers than any other government since independence. We have put in our establishment over 3,000 doctors and nurses, double the numbers of community health aides, and last year we served up 3 million prescriptions to Jamaicans on the National Health Fund. In their 2015 year, they did less than 1 million. The facts are that more Jamaicans are being served by our health system. Do we need to do more? I am the first to say yes, which is why we need the next term to complete the work that we are doing. They talk about the issue, they did nothing. As far as corruption is concerned, that's innuendos and
time. Thank you. All right. We're at that segment we're at that point in the debate where we allow the teams to ask a question of the other, yeah? So we're going to start with Team JLP posing a question to Team PNP.
Thank you. It is our considered view that the 3.5 million threshold increase that was recently announced is a political scam. In the beginning it was 2.1, then it became 3, then it disappeared, and then it appeared 1 week before an election. You have to tell the people of Jamaica, I ask you to tell the people of Jamaica, is this just an election scam, or is it that you are going to be cutting much needed services such as NHF, where we spend $19 billion for drugs in hospitals, or university spending, which is $17 billion. Tell us how you plan to really cut discretionary areas, as you have called them.
I answered the question already, but I'm going to answer it again for the Jamaican people. I have said we are going to raise the threshold to $3.5 million. How are we going to do that? We're going to do that because your budget says that $140 billion of additional government revenues will be earned over 3 years. But that is at your 1% growth, which you have no ambition on. We're going to grow the economy by more than that so that we can pay for these things. There's also a benefit when you put more money in the hands of people because they're going to spend it, which will allow the government to collect more on GCT and other indirect taxes. We are the party committed to ensuring that all Jamaicans thrive and not just a few. Our plan is better, it is more equitable. Their plan will benefit the richer people more. Ours will benefit the working people, our nurses, our policemen, the security guards, the civil servants, to put more money to ease the pressure of the cost of living that they have to face. That is our commitment as a party of social justice and equality. So when you talk about Samfire, what Samfire you're talking about? Madness you're talking about? We will deliver on behalf of the Jamaican people. We have a history of protecting our most vulnerable and ensuring that they have more money to spend so that they can protect their families and those around them.
Time. JLP, you have a 45-second rebuttal.
Jamaicans, the 3.5 million threshold is the largest political scam. They cannot tell you how they're going to fund it. They look at the current budget, they see the projections growing to 140 billion, but they don't tell you that expenses are also growing. So that's not available for you to use towards the 3.5. And you also put out an ad showing how much people are going to get on a monthly basis. You know that's a lie. They may get it for 1 month, but it's not going to be there. The 3.5 that you're talking about cannot be done.
Thank you. Time. Team PNP, your turn to pose a question to Team J.
How can you be trusted to keep promises when you've broken promises on impeachment legislation, unexplained wealth orders, term limits, grand referenda, you've attacked the Integrity Commission relentlessly. You've undermined them. You have even failed to sign the Code of Conduct, basic principles dealing with integrity, honesty, selflessness, and accountability. How can anybody take your word? How do they know that those candidates who are under investigation for illicit enrichment are not offering themselves out there right now to the public, secretly knowing that they are corrupt? The clock isn't working, by the way.
Oh, the clock isn't. Okay, I'm just going to still go ahead and answer that question. It's a very curious question because I know in the 90s when I became politically aware, I remember politics and scandals. I remember hearing light bulb scandal, fat cat scandal, and then the mother of all scandals, FinSac. When you look in your dictionary and you look for scandal, you see the PNP right there. In terms of the Integrity Commission, it is this administration that implemented it. It is this administration that puts $2 billion annually to it. It is this administration in our manifesto that says we're going to strengthen our corruption prevention mechanisms in this country. It is this administration that has delivered Jamaica's best anti-corruption score. And it's not us that said it. It is an international body, Transparency International. We have been the ones that have been taking Jamaica on the path of anti-corruption, not the PNP.
In addition to that, let me just say very clearly that the Jamaican people are concerned about their lives, their livelihood, their communities, and by extension Jamaica. They talk, we deliver. We have delivered the lowest unemployment, the lowest poverty, reduced crime despite Peter's objection by over 40%, the lowest in 30 years. That is what is important to the people of Jamaica.
Thank you. Team PNP, about 45 seconds.
It's interesting that they say that people are concerned about their standard of living because they're talking about things that happened in the 90s. That's over 30 years ago. Young people who are listening, does that affect your life? No. Yet still, they're not speaking about the scandals that young people, anybody 25 years and younger, would have experienced. What happened with rural reading education, to the point that education is behind. We are celebrating as a country five subjects being attained by 19% of our children. That's 1 in every 5. Is your child one of the 5 that is attaining 5 subjects? And if your child is not, what is happening to them? Our standards are too low. What happened to the used car scandal? What happened to Petrolab scandal? And I'm sure there are many others. Come on, man, 30 years of
Thank you, Mrs. Anderson. Thank you. Time. Okay, what we're going to do now is this. We're going to invite Team PNP to deliver a closing statement of 2 minutes in length.
Jamaica, the current macroeconomic figures look good, but what is your lived reality? What do you go through every single day? The reality you face is that you are living hand to mouth. You're working, but you can only afford to go to work and come back based on the wages that you earn. You are working poor. 55% of Jamaicans are considered food insecure, which means they cannot afford to eat a proper meal per day. If they go to the hospitals that Chris supposed to bill, they cannot find time to pay for our bed. Jamaica, you deserve better. Time come for a better life. The next People's National Party administration will lift the tax threshold to 3.5 million, so we can put more money in the pockets of working Jamaicans. We are going to eliminate the tax on overtime, so that again people can get a break. The same people who are working hard to build our economy. We are going to run a more efficient economy, so that this thing called the Office of Plenty Ministries, that is a bottleneck, where nothing can go through and it takes you a year to do something. We're going to eliminate those efficiencies so that we can grow the economy beyond 1%. We are going to ensure that anybody who is the first in their family gets a scholarship, and that means for persons who are currently at university, we're going to ensure that those who are buying a house get the $500,000 deposit. And I want to assure persons who earn over 3.5 million that this tax benefit is for you too. So what are we going to do? We're going to build a Jamaica in which all Jamaicans can feel a part of. So come September 3rd, when you go to the polling station, I want you to think carefully. I want you to use your head and put the X beside the head.
Time. Thank you. May I add that the order of the closing statement was predetermined by a coin toss. Team JLP, your 2 minutes.
My fellow Jamaicans, in 2016 you asked the Jamaica Labour Party, you gave them your vote of confidence to correct the ills within our economy caused by the People's National Party. They served 24 of 27 years and created more debt, more unemployment, more poverty than any other administration. Fast forward to today, 2025, we have the lowest poverty rate, we have the lowest unemployment rate, we have a macroeconomic stable society, we have more companies registering to start their business, we have crime that has been the monster of your business, your personal life, down the lowest in 30 years, all by the policies of this government. We still have some ways to go. Our hospital and health centers have embarked on the largest expansion and build out. They left it as a disaster. We have had to correct it. We ask you, on September 3rd, give the Jamaica Labour Party the opportunity to continue the work. We have done more for you than any other administration, and certainly more than the PNP has ever done. They are now coming with a 1-week plan, essentially, to get your vote by claiming 3.5 when they rejected our 1.5 when we started. They don't know how to get us there. We will get you there. We are about protecting yourselves, your families, your communities by doing what is necessary. That is all that matters. Their diversion around innuendos, rumors, targeting persons and character assassination does not impact you in your community. It is about the water, the road, the health services, and this government has done more. On the 3rd of September, put your X beside the bell, vote for the Jamaica Labour Party.
Thank you. In the good spirit of the debates, we invite Team JLP and Team PNP to meet in the middle and shake hands. You can applaud. All right. That concludes the economy debate between Dana Morris Dixon, Fable Williams, and Christopher Tufton for Team Jamaica Labour Party, and Julian Robinson, Keisha Anderson, and Peter Bunting for Team PNP. Join us again Thursday, August 28, 9 p.m. sharp for the final debate in the 2025 General Election Debate Series, the Leaders Debate, featuring party leaders Dr. Andrew Hollis from the JLP and Mark Golding from the PNP.
I would feel like Andrew Golding.
Thanks for joining us. Thanks to all the audience of Production 2, Production and 25, and viewers.
Well, this debate was better than the last one. It feel close. I don't know who I think win. I think both teams did a better job this time around of answering the questions. You know, the first debate, them never really did answer the question. I think they were more concerned with like getting their talking points out. No man, they did answer the questions, you know. Whether or not we are satisfied with the answer. Remember, you know, like how you determine whether the person answered the question or not. You have to look at what are they asking. So when they ask the PNP how you go and finance the 3.5 million? What the guy name? I don't even remember his name. Jesus. Julian Roberts' name? Me no know. The PNP guy did answer. Him said there is a projected growth of I think $40 billion or something like that. So that's what they're going to use to finance the thing. Plus they're saying that when you give people more money, then they're going to spend that money, which is true, and then you're going to essentially collect it back in a GCT, which kind of makes sense. So he did answer the question. If you had watched the first debate, you would have noticed that they didn't really answer the questions. They kind of, launch into a lot of back and forth and taking jabs at the other side. Rems JLP answered them question, man. Them answer them question. Dana Morris was when she spoke, she was very specific in what she was saying, and she really she answered the question then. Tufton as well answered this question. Faval just a little bit slow as usual, but for the most part she did answer the question. I feel this time around that there was more. Yes, it's boy, my battery soon dead. My battery, I don't know, the phone keep charge. This time around they did a very good job of actually answering the questions. Flavor slow. So whether we agree with the response or not, it's not fair to say that they didn't answer. I think this was a very close one. I would like to hear, I probably will have to watch Diane Jackson Miller and see what she say regarding who them think win. That one me couldn't it's too close to call. So I guess them have to look on the quality of the answers to determine who them feel win. But this was they seem more prepared this time around. Even though I was dissatisfied. I mean, she still answered the question, but I was dissatisfied with Dana Morris's response to the last question where JLP had to ask him about corruption, and she has said, oh, we created the Integrity Commission. But yes, we create the Integrity Commission, and now we have the Integrity Commission at court. And we have this illicit six, we all know then can come forward and there is no resolution to those illicit six, and they're still we're going into an election where you have an illicit six where nobody know about, which don't make no sense. I think that if the JLP valued integrity, what they should have done is have those illicit six then excused from the running. Of course, if you win, you can always give them cabinet position or whatever after the investigation is concluded. But to the extent that you have these people who are under investigation for fraud and other stuff, and then you run an election and I tell yourself you trust you and give you your vote, that not really make no sense to me. Then the Prime Minister, we are on the heels of the election, and the Prime Minister's net worth has not been certified, and you're taking the Integrity Commission to court, which don't make no sense to me. Because remember, generally it's the filings are standard. It's kind of like you own a business and you are supposed to file your tax return. That's it, You own a business, you're supposed to file your tax return. You file your tax return and everything alright. That's it. Nobody not going to no argument with you. That's the issue. It's the same thing. So each parliamentarian is required to file then income and expenses with the Integrity Commission. Once you file it and them can verify your income, your source of funds and your expenditures, there is no conversation. Lord God, the battery soon dead. Voila. Hold on. Oh my God. Is this gonna work? Oh, battery did the power 1%. So I mean, the fact of the matter is, if you file in your tax returns, right, and everything is kosher, nobody not going to no argument with you. You file your stuff, them say, okay, you have complied, and that is the end of the story. But the gentleman file him stuff, and they must say, wait a minute, you have all this money and we don't know where you get the money from. Can you provide evidence of the sources of these funds? Because it's the same thing, you know, if you walk in a bank and you get $200,000 go give them, then just take it up in your account, they might ask you where you get the money from. And so it work. It's the same thing, and that is what Andrew has the Integrity Commission at the court for. So I wasn't satisfied with Dana Morris's response to, because we created the Integrity Commission and we're building out of, and he said, yeah, but you don't have them at court, girl. So that makes sense. Let me not understand. How does that make any sense? All in all, I think this was a very good debate. I'm kind of iffy on the PNP's economic strategy, though. There's not much specificity in terms of how they plan to grow the economy, and that is a problem for me. And I mean, it is evident that the PNP has always struggled with managing the economy. If you do the research and you look at stuff like exchange rate, inflation, GDP, unemployment, and you go back 40 years, you will see that the PNP has always struggled with managing the economy. It's just a historical fact. Once you go back and you start crunching the numbers, they've always struggled. The problem with the JLP, though, is that while they grow the economy, we are not seeing the benefit. So, oh yes, you know, GDP is whatever, the economy grew by 5%, and we sit down here and wonder, so then, oh, things more expensive and me, I can barely afford food for them. That don't make no sense, because the wealth is funneled to the top. That's the problem. There is no, the lower class and the middle class are not benefiting from the prosperity that the JLP brings. So while they can boast about prosperity, and to some extent that is true, we the little small fries now really see it. And that's the problem that I'm having. Is like, we need to see the benefits. We need to reap some of the benefits. It can't just be that you and your friend them are lying on a pocket and the whole of around so hungry like a dog. That don't make no sense. And that is the indictment that I have against the JLP as far as growth is concerned. I'm not confident in the PNP about growth, but I think Jamaica needs to break the cycle and elect the PNP, because we have to understand that it is in our interest to shuffle the government now and then, because once they see them get them third term, they now become complacent and they start crepe and teeth brawling, because at this point now them feel invincible and them feel like say, okay then, well, we are going to win, so we can do whatever the hell we want. So we can't make them get too comfortable in the seat. We have to shift them up. We have to play musical chairs. Alright, then you get up, you start singing, and when the music stop, anybody now have a seat come out. And so we have to do it, because if we make them feel comfortable, a brawling, then go and do it, then go and start thief brawling in a way and make we know say, yo, we no care what no one say, we no care what no one do, because we in yourself it done and we now come out. So it is incumbent upon us to make sure that we change the government now and then. The problem though is I am skeptical about the PNP's ability to grow the economy. That is the biggest issue that I have right now with the PNP. Me not trust them with the I don't trust them with it. You understand? And insofar as the economy grows under the JLP, and even though we not really benefit, growth is still growth, right? And as long as we're not having like mass layoff and mass unemployment, it is still better than nothing. Even though we shouldn't really settle for just the bare minimum. But me don't know if me trust the PNP with the economy. But we need to change the government, notwithstanding, because I think I think it will do more good than harm if we put in the PNP than give the JLP a second term. That is just my opinion. I could be wrong. Anyways, guys, thank you for staying with me and enjoy the rest of your night. It's almost 11 o'clock.